I'm Birds 365, and we are joined by Hunter Brody from the best show ever on 97.5 The Fanatic. Hunter, we've been doing these shows leading up to Super Bowl. Now we got 7 or 8 of them under our belt. If you're not working on the weekends, which I am. So you've gotten the pulse of Eagle fans. Confidence meter. If it's 100%, every call you take guaranteed to win by 3 touchdowns as to, oh, shoot, we're screwed. Patrick Mahomes is too good. That would be a 0. 0 to 100. What would you say, what you've been able to take from those you're having interaction with on your phones, on your shows, on your social media? What would you say the Eagle fan confidence level is coming into this game?
I'd say like 95% they feel they're going to win, which is crazy because I remember taking calls about the Giants, and there was so much fear about, oh, Brian Daboll, he's a great coach, and what if Saquon Barkley? And it's crazy that we're here now, and the obnoxiousness of it. We had a caller yesterday. We were doing the math. 39-23, and we're like, hold on a second, we got to play this one out. Everyone's calling saying high 30s, and I'm like, look, I'm confident. I like this Eagles team, but how do we go from losing to the Giants to 39-23? It's crazy, but I think it's right to feel confident, but are we over?
I got to be honest. I'm a little surprised, Hunter, because it's always underdog. And Jody, you're not the underdog. You're supposed to win this game. You're the better team. You're the deeper team. I'm surprised people have bought into that narrative. Yeah, you go back to the Giants game. Oh, how are we going to block Dexter Lawrence? Oh, we almost lost to the Giants JB in week 18. Oh, this is very, very dangerous. Boom, 38-7, 31-7. So they've gotten over the underdog mentality.
It seems that way, but the other 5%, they look at like the
shoe is coming. The other shoe is coming.
They kind of look at it in a way that they're setting themselves up for if they lose, like, hey, I was prepared for this, but they don't really want to believe it. I don't know. It's bizarre. I don't understand that mentality. I just want to say, look at the trenches, and that's where we begin. This team is dominant on both sides of the trenches, and, that's what it's going to come down to, in my opinion.
Yeah. I just went off on that dopey Chris Sims for his continued hatred of Jalen Hurts. Just doesn't add up to me. And now it's going to sound like I'm attacking Jalen Hurts. If I got reservation about the Eagles coming into this game, it's one thing and one thing only. It's Patrick Mahomes. As much as I love Jalen Hurts, as much as I defend Jalen Hurts, he's the second best quarterback on the field on Sunday. Mahomes is the best quarterback on the field. And that's where, if you're an Eagle fan and you're not 100% over the moon, why are they playing this game? Just give us a damn trophy. We're better than that. Mahomes is a bit of a magician. I think the Eagles should have at least, Eagle fans, and I know the Eagles players do, at least respect for what Mahomes has done so far in his career. Are you getting any of that from your Eagle fans that you're talking to?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think this is where the confidence level comes in. If you think of the security blanket for both teams, which is the offensive line, there's a hole on the right side of Patrick Mahomes, and there's no hole for Jalen Hurts. So I think where the confidence level is Hassan Reddick and maybe what's going to happen with Wiley, and does Andy Reid need to do something on that side to help out, and will that then take away from something else in their offensive game? Now, look, Andy Reid's phenomenal. Pat Mahomes is phenomenal. I'm sure they're going to come up with something, but I think that's why the fans feel good is if we think about holes, there's an opportunity to maybe get to Mahomes, make him uncomfortable. He's on the high ankle sprain. There's a hole on that right side, and I don't know if there's a hole on this offensive line for the Birds.
Yeah, I think there's a big difference between what Jody just said, acknowledging that Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the world and Jalen Hurts isn't as good as Patrick Mahomes, and Hunter Brody and Jody McDonald can quarterback the Eagles and they'd be at the Super Bowl. I think there's a big sort of chasm in between where you can go back to common sense. Patrick Mahomes is the best player in this game. Patrick Mahomes, I call him the Steph Curry of the NFL because he's so unique. He does things you're not supposed to do, but he does them successfully. So to go down that Steph Curry route, if he scores 50, you're in trouble. So if Patrick Mahomes is unconscious, you're in trouble. So there is a path for the Eagles to lose this game because of that quarterback.
I don't disagree with that at all. No doubt. It's funny because throughout the week, we're kind of looking at different phases of each team. And we started with who has the coaching advantage, right? And, Andy Reid is one of the best coaches we might ever see in this sport. And his offensive game plan, it's so creative. You see things that a lot of teams won't do. So, I said coaching advantage, Chiefs. Now, maybe Nick Sirianni can coach a damn good football game, but if Andy Reid's at his best and Nick Sirianni is at his best, I like Andy Reid in that matchup. Then we went to quarterbacks, Pat Mahomes, and then Jalen Hurts. Well, I went to Pat Mahomes. Now, the injury, Pat Mahomes, like in regards to the resume and what he can be if he's at his best and Hurts is at his best. The thing is Mahomes going to be hobbled? Is there going to be a hit where, you can see him kind of doing the limp as he gets back to the huddle? So there is an opportunity for Hurts because of the current status of Pat Mahomes to possibly win that matchup just because maybe he's not fully healthy. But the rest of the way, except for tight end, I like the Eagles. So the most two important positions, head coach and quarterback, I do push it towards the Chiefs to a degree as long as Pat Mahomes is healthy. And then the rest of the crew, besides tight end, I like the Eagles. So that's where I'm saying there is a chance. Obviously, the two most important positions, I can totally see someone leaning towards the Chiefs, which is important in this matchup. And that's why it's going to be fascinating to see how this plays out because the overall team, it seems like with the Eagles, it's the full squad. It's every man on the roster. For the Chiefs, it's Pat Mahomes has to have the good day. Pat Mahomes has to do it. I think there's a way the defense for the Eagles can do something, create a spark. I don't see the Chiefs doing that. I can't see the Chiefs relying on the defense, relying on other pieces. It's Pat Mahomes or nothing, which he can do it. We've seen it happen. With the Eagles, there's so many variables to how they succeed. How will it happen? They do it in a different way each week. It's going to be fascinating.
All right, let it be well on the record that I'm playing devil's advocate here. I'm not saying I believe this. I'm not saying that this is the way I see it. I'm playing devil's advocate. The last two games, Jalen Hurts has thrown for less than 200 yards. Shoot, he hasn't thrown for 155. It was 154 and 121. Now, I get it. He didn't need to throw for 200 yards because the Eagles were well ahead in both of those games. But we haven't seen him have a 300-yard game since he went down against the Bears way back in December. Any reservation that if Mahomes comes out and is Mahomes and is magic and is throwing it all over the lot and we're 21-21 at half, that they've already scored 42 points by the time they get to the half. I paced to go 84 for the game. And just, you hope you had the over on this one, folks. If it's that type of a game, can we bank on Hurts being able to throw for 350 if he needs to go mano a mano with Mahomes? Do you have faith, or do you think there's still a shoulder issue? I guess my question is long and roundabout way. I apologize. Do you think the reason he hasn't thrown for 150 yards is more Hurts' shoulder or the Eagles' play calling?
Yeah, I don't think it's. I'm comfortable with where the shoulder's at. I know it's easy to draw the correlation, and he's not 100%. We know that, but there's also times where guys just miss players. And I think when we look back at missing A.J. Brown deep or some of those deep throws that, weren't on target, I chalk it up to more of it's just one of those days where he wasn't connecting with them. I wouldn't be surprised if he's throwing darts in this game against the Chiefs. And I think that there's maybe an easier matchup when you look at the Chiefs defense to do that. Maybe there was a correlation with how strong the 49ers are and, some of their players that were making him feel rushed or knew he needed to do something, the linebacker play, this and that, where I don't know if you necessarily have that same mental approach to the Chiefs defense the way that it was the 49ers defense. I feel comfortable with Jalen Hurts. I know this. No matter how it looks, no matter what style it is, no matter where the throws are, this and that along the field, A.J. Brown, Quez Watkins, Dallas Goedert, doesn't matter who the throws to, he finds ways. He's just one of those guys. He's someone where the box score. Can he throw for 350? Can he do this for 320? He's not a box score quarterback. So whatever is needed on that day, wherever his shoulder is, I think he's going to put this team in the position because his resume screams that. But I feel comfortable with where he's at in terms of the physical side of it. And yeah, I think he can hold his own if it needed to be a shootout, which it might.
Yeah, I like that description, Hunter. He's not a box score quarterback.
Yeah, he really isn't.
He's 16. This team is 16-1 when he's on the field.
That's a good box
the,
score.
the lone loss,
Yeah.
the lone loss is, but the numbers aren't always there, Jody, as you mentioned, whether it's 140 yards passing 1 week, maybe he doesn't run for it, maybe he throws for 350 1 week. You got to look at the context of each game. San Francisco, before they got frustrated, they were doing a really good job defensively. And that's the number one defense in the NFL. Kansas City doesn't have that kind of talent. So that factors into it as well. Now, I have my riser theory, Hunter. And my riser theory was about Super Bowl opening night, the dog and pony show that is, where, and you kind of alluded to it. They put 12 people on podiums, everybody else scrummages around the footprint center. The list, it's the coaches and 11 players. The list of the Eagles' 11 players, all pro bowler, Pro Bowl alternate, all the way down to Miles Sanders. The Chiefs, it was Pat Mahomes, obviously. It was Travis Kelce. It was Chris Jones. And then Jody likes Frank Clark a heck of a lot more than I do. It's off a cliff to Frank Clark. The difference between the depth and talents of the Eagles to the Kansas City Chiefs is pretty significant. So from that standpoint, I want to ask you an identity question. Everybody talks about identity in football. You got to have an identity. The Eagles don't have an identity. Isn't that a good thing? Because they can beat you 17 different ways. Kansas City's got to go out there and score points with Patrick Mahomes. We know their identity. The Eagles can beat the Chiefs a half a dozen different ways. How big of an advantage is that?
It's huge. It's huge. And I think we're going to factor that into the end result. When we're talking about it on Monday and we're breaking this puppy down, I think that's absolutely something we're going to talk about. And it all starts in the trenches. I know that's it's kind
Not
of, I guess.
Sexy.
Yeah, you're right. But maybe this is a crazy statement. All right, I'm only 27 years old. I don't know if we're going to see an offensive line this dominant again. I don't even know if we're ever. I don't even know if we recognize how – I always say this, we're spoiled here in Philly. You look at all the left tackles and all the Hall of Famers and all that. This isn't normal, all right? I mean, you slot in Landon Dickerson. He gets to play in between Mailata and Jason Kelce. And, look, he played at Alabama. You knew he was going to be good. The injuries was probably more of the issue with the knee injuries all over the place. But this dude is unreal. No one can stop this. When was the last time you heard about a defensive lineman on the other team taking over the game? When was the last time you saw someone do something like Hassan Reddick does to other teams? It doesn't happen. And I think it starts there. And then from that, get the run game going, get the pass game going. Like you alluded to, you can kill the team in so many different ways. And that's why it's awesome. Their identity is whatever you need us to do that night, whatever you need us to do on that given day. But it all starts because of those 5 guys up front. And it's truly amazing.
Quickie quiz for you, Hunter. This is the 3rd Super Bowl for the Bucs in the last 4 years, right? For the Chiefs, right? They got beat by the Bucs a couple of years ago. Their offensive line came apart at the seams. Mahomes was dodging and weaving and bobbing for his life because their offensive line had just come apart. Who is the only Kansas City Chief to get a sack in that Super Bowl? That would be Frank Clark. The year before, when they had won the Super Bowl against the San Francisco 49ers, come from behind. Good job. Yeah, you can point to Shanahan not being able to protect the lead, but certainly the defense had something to do with it. They had 1 sack in the Super Bowl. Would you like to guess who had it?
Frank Clark.
Frank Clark. That would be correct. So he comes up big in big situations. So I'm just saying ahead of time, don't write off Frank Clark in the Super Bowl. Just I'm a bigger Frank Clark fan than my partner.
Yeah, but this offensive line's a different beast.
Yeah.
It's a different beast every time.
They're
So you don't
stopping
think
Nick.
you don't think
They're
Chris
stopping
Jones is
Nick
going to get any
Bosa.
sacks either?
You read my mind. You read my mind, John. It's like all these individual talents. Micah Parsons, how are they going to stop it? Well, they're going to read and react and attack him. Bosa did nothing. And then you look at the other side, it's like people aren't even talking about that. You want to talk about interior linemen? Hargraves got 11 sacks. When was the last time you heard someone even bring up Hargraves' name? They have so many people doing it that he's the outlier that just gets lost in the sauce. I'm telling you, this is the trenches.
Yeah.
The trenches.
I mean, even I should learn, Hunter, and I'm 127, not 27, but I'm with you. This is the best offensive line I've told Jody I've seen since the 90s Cowboys. That's how good they are. It was Dexter Lawrence against the Giants. He just came off. He wrecked the game against Minnesota. I didn't know he was on the field against the Eagles. Nick Bosa made one play, and that's going to be the defensive player of the year. With all due respect to Frank Clark, and Jody's right. He was a better pass rusher. He's aging in his career. He's not the player he once was. He was a pretty good pass rusher. But if I'm worried about somebody on Kansas City, it's Chris Jones. I haven't looked at this all week because Jody and I have been going back about Frank Clark. Chris Jones, if you go Pro Football Focus, 1 of 127. He is the best defensive lineman in the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus. Frank Clark, by the way, edge defenders, 57 of 120. If Nick Bosa can't deal with the Eagles, if Dexter Lawrence, if Chris Jones, I can't worry about Frank Clark. I'm a little bit worried about Chris Jones. I admit that. Even though the Eagles have proven to me they can deal with the best defensive lineman, and I go back to Jeffrey Simmons in the regular season. He's a phenomenal player if they completely shut him down. Chris Jones, though, he's having a year.
I know. That's why I brought up the Hargrave thing. It's like we keep talking about Jones, and I'm going, look across the way. You know what I'm saying? But he kind of gets lost in the sauce a little bit because of what BG's doing and Reddick's doing and all. But, yeah, I mean, he's no joke. But is he enough to wreck the game? I mean, individual statistics. I'm saying, yeah, but you said the same thing about Bosa. We said the same thing about Parsons. And we said the same thing about everybody else.
Yeah.
I can't see it happening. Making a play is different. Wrecking the entire game, I don't know. I don't think anyone can.
No, I don't think it's happening against that Eagle offensive line. All right, Hunter, need a prediction from you. Who's going to be the key Eagle running back in this game?
You want me to go Gainwell, but
I want you to go wherever you think it's going to happen.
I'm going. See, Sanders is going to be the primary, but we'll remember Gainwell because he's going to do something where he has the 17-yard run, and it'll be cute because it's like 3 or 4 touches that we love. But it'll be Sanders.
Yeah, I don't know what to think of Kenny Gainwell because it has been 38-7. It has been 31-7. So when the Eagles get to the second half of these games, they're like, all right, let's get Miles out of there. Let's get Kenny. And he's shown some juice. I mean, he's played well, but I don't know how meaningful it is. Do you get that? I don't know how meaningful the second half of either of those games were in the playoffs. I didn't learn that much about the Eagles. I've said it pretty much since the beginning of the playoffs, other than what I already knew. They're pretty damn good. But when you look at these particular individual games, the second halves, I'm like, well, it didn't really matter. It was extended garbage time, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, that's fair. I feel Nick Sirianni is one of those coaches that if someone has the hot hand or something, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but in the beginning of the year, what was the talk about Sanders? No touchdowns last year, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Then I think he made it early and known early, we're going to get you in the end zone, things like that. I feel like he's that type of coach that wants to send that message. So knowing Gainwell has had some pop, I wouldn't be surprised if he puts that in the plan to continue what Gainwell was doing, no matter what time of the game it is.
All right, this is kind of like a combo question with the Jalen Hurts question I had before. They didn't need to do it. Was it that they didn't need to do it, or was it injury related? I think it certainly falls more so on A.J. Brown, that they didn't need to do it, but he hasn't had a bust-out game in a while either. Neither of the 2 playoff games did he even get 30 yards. Is he like ready to break out? Do you think he's itching to be the guy? Because this is one of the reasons why I think AJ Brown is great. He has such desire to be the man. We had that issue a couple of weeks ago where they saw him pouting a little bit on the bench, that he looked like he was perturbed because he wasn't getting as many targets as maybe he wanted to. Do you think AJ Brown has a chance to have a mega day on Sunday against this Chiefs very young secondary?
I think so. Yeah, for sure. I mean, let's be honest. How many games in a row is AJ Brown going to have less than 30 yards? I'm just playing the numbers game. You think he's due for a big one. And you're right. They are young back there, and maybe Spags. Yeah, I'm not the biggest Spags guy in the world. I think I know he's got the resume. I know a lot of these guys have the resume. That's been a big topic and the big talking point. But yeah, I think AJ Brown's due for one. It comes back to, what does the game dictate? If they need him to be the guy in this game, I think he's going to be the guy. If the game dictates something else and they end up, running the ball more and 7-minute drives, even though I know there's a stat out there, you got to score over 28 points, because if you don't, they're like 50-3 or something ridiculous like that. I think it's in there, though. I mean, there's no doubt about it. If you need him on that given day, and I know he's hungry for it, he'll let you know. He's definitely capable of doing it. It's all about, that's the beauty of this team. And it seems repetitive, but it's, what are you going to give us, and we're going to expose that? Or what can we do here? What do we see, and we're going to attack it? It's not, we have to get AJ Brown the ball. So if it's not there, it's not there. They work something else out, and guess what? They still go pop 30 points. And that's the beauty of it all. So, but yeah, he's very capable of doing it, and I could see it, because you're right. They are young back there, and I wouldn't be surprised if they take advantage of a mismatch.
All right, our boy JG is getting pass here, so I got to bring up the defense as a whole. Now,
I thought we were going G-Wagon, because that video brought me from like a 5 on Gannon to like an 8.
Now everybody is. He should have learned to pander a little bit earlier, and he would have been fine. But
it's a hell of a move by him.
Yeah, tremendous move. He needs a tremendous move against Travis Kelce. We talked about Patrick Mahomes and how good he is. I mean, this guy's thrown for 5,200 yards, and he doesn't have a receiver that scares anybody. Juju Smith-Schuster is best receiver. But Travis Kelce, as Jody points out, is always open.
How? How? Somebody explain to me how the hell does he get his openings he does? Play after play after play. I don't understand.
It's the backyard football thing, man. They have like the twin mind where they know where each other is at all times. And, it's just like backyard football. Go run around, and I promise I'll find you. I don't know what they're going to do. I honestly, that's one that I go, all right, JG, what do you got? How are we going to handle this thing? I don't know. That's a bad answer, but I really have no idea what they're going to do with Kelce.
During the playoffs, the Chiefs, like the Eagles, have won 2 games. Kelce's averaging 10.5 catches per game, but he's under 200 yards. So is that the way you deal with him? All right, he can catch 10 balls, but make sure it's for 80 yards and not 140.
Well, knowing the philosophy of not wanting to give up big chunk plays, I'm sure if we're looking at a catch for 6 yards, 5 yards, whatever it is, as long as that's taken away some deep shots with Hardman out, I mean, just looking at possibly what they could do to stretch the field. Knowing JG, I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that they say, okay, you can have that as long as it's not for 20. I mean, would you be surprised if that's what his message is?
That's the way I'd go about it. All right, let him catch it, but tackle him. Like too many NBA comparisons today from me, but I'll go like, if we let the top scorers score 35, but make sure everybody else is held down.
Yeah, well, who's going to tackle him is the question, because I remember watching a touchdown where who was it? Was it Epps, and then C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and then Slay, and then Hargrave fell down, and they were all trying to tackle McCaffrey?
Yeah. Well, all the way back, and Jody can tell you this, Hunter, to the preseason, I was worried about this team tackling, because Hassan Reddick's undersized. Kaiser White's undersized. Marcus Epps is, undersized safety. Chauncey, he's not even a safety. They made him into a safety. You have all these players. Bradbury's not a great tackler. Slay's not a great tackler. They find a way, though. They don't have great tacklers, but they find a way. It's been it's been pretty impressive to watch. I thought that would be an issue at some point. There's only 60 minutes of football to where it can be an issue, and Andy Reid doesn't like to run the ball, so I can't be worried about the tackling that much.
That McCaffrey play was ugly in the San
Yeah.
Francisco game. It was early, but
Every once
that
in a
was
while.
it. That was it. After that,
Yeah.
they tackled. Prior to that, they tackled fine. After that, they tackled fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a really ugly. They
Every
had to
once
burn
in a
that.
while, week 1 in Detroit, Davis Webb
Oh,
running
yeah,
over Reid
yeah.
Blankenship like he's not there. Every once in a while it pops up, but I guess that's the modern NFL.
That might have been the ugliest effort by the Eagles all year long. But it was one play in one game, and the only touchdown San Francisco scored. So we're going to pretend that it didn't happen. All right, I'm going to ask you to pretend again, Hunter, because I know you don't really believe this. But if the Eagles lose the game, if there's by some way, chance, happenstance, it comes up that they don't win the game, which of the two coordinators is going to get more roasted on Monday on the best show ever? Will it be Shane Steichen for his play calling, or Jonathan Gannon for his we'll keep everything in front of us, and Patrick Mahomes? And maybe it's 15 catches by Travis Kelce for 97 yards, but of those 15, 9 of them got them first downs. Who's going to be the coordinator that is crushed on Monday on your phone lines if the Eagles lose this game?
See, the thing is, I think if they lose this game, it might be the weirdly, this is probably going to be the unpopular way to probably think this one, but I think it'll be maybe the offense stalling a little bit and not having that juice. But with that said, JG will get crushed because even though you look at the points and go, well, he only allowed 21, let's say, to Pat Mahomes, the way it looks to the eye, because we know where the fan base is, JG will get crushed because of
already guilty as charged. Guilty by association, the entire defense, because they are with the non-blitzing defensive coordinator.
It might be something like that, even though it'll be the offense that only scored 14 points. But we're mad at Gannon for allowing when it's 14-14 and the offense struggled all game. He allowed the touchdown the last drive because he played soft coverage or something like that.
And see, if that does happen, I hope it's on the blitz, Hunter. So all these people,
it gets there's a screen pass to Kelce. Or I don't know, whatever. I don't know. Yeah. You send the house, but it gets to
I do hope, Bert. I'll end it there with you at Bros81. Follow Hunter on Twitter, the best show ever. Co-host there weekdays 2 to 6. 97.5 The Fanatic, also simulcast on the NBC Sports Philadelphia. Arizona and Indianapolis are still open head coaching jobs. The Cardinals have pretty much said we're waiting until the Super Bowl. Typically, when you wait till the Super Bowl is over, you got your eye on somebody. We don't know what Jim Irsay is going to do. He's a whack job, but when you say you're going to wait till after the Super Bowl, you got your eye on somebody. Does Arizona, they're going to come out of nowhere to hire Shane Steichen, Jonathan Gannon? I think people assume Eric Bieniemy, but are we still in danger of losing a coordinator?
Yeah, I think Shane's going, whether it's the Colts or Arizona. But I think Shane's the one, and then Gannon's going to be back. I know Gannon had those comments a little bit ago saying, about returning or whatnot. But I think once Houston went to DeMeco Ryans, that was probably the biggest target for him was Houston. So I think we get another year of JG, and I think Shane is going to be gone after this season, whether it's the Colts or Arizona.
All right, Hunter, last one for me. Quiz time again. Who leads the Kansas City Chiefs in postseason sacks this year?
Is it Frank Clark?
That would be Frank Clark with 2.5, more so than Chris Jones. I'm just pointing it out that the guy's a big game player. He has been in the Super Bowl. He has been in the Kansas City Chiefs 2 playoff games. Just when you're watching a game on Sunday, if he happens to make a play, you're going to go, oh, friggin' Jody, why'd he even bring that? Why'd he even go there?
Jody's jinxing. Worry about
now
Chris
during
Jones.
the whole Super Bowl. I'm going to be thinking of Jody Mack. I don't know if that's good or bad.
Frank Clark. Frank Clark better be on Jordan's side because he ain't getting past Lane Johnson with torn groin
Oh,
and
he
all.
is. He is on Jordan's side. That's
Yeah.
why I'm mentioning Frank Clark as often as I am. Bro, it's good stuff. Thanks. We always appreciate whenever you jump in. Tell the crew we said hi. Enjoyed the game on Sunday, big guy.
Absolutely. You too. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Hunter.
Hunter Brody, best
Boy,
show ever.
I just remembered in Hunter, we were supposed to get Hunter off at 45.
Oh, shoot, that's right. I forgot about that too. Damn.
I apologize to Hunter.
I apologize for Hunter because he's the one who told me, listen, I got to have a hard out at 45. Oh, shoot. Man,
I just remembered it. I'm like, oh, I felt bad.
I didn't remember it till you reminded me. Hunter, our apologies. Thanks, brother. You did a great job. All right, Johnny Mac, Jody Mac coming back. Oh, last chance to get a point of view out of McMullen because he's out of here. He's going to Arizona tomorrow. You ready to give a score, McMullen? Because you're on record now.
No, not really.
You got 3 minutes to come up with a score on the Eagles versus Chiefs. Come back and see what Johnny Mac's got for you here.